Let's take you now live to the Pentagon, where our correspondent Wolf Blitzer is standing by. And Wolf, what can you tell us about the Pentagon's reaction to the recent ground fighting we've been reporting on from the Khafji area? What have they learned from this?
Marianne, Pentagon officials say they welcome these kinds of probing operations by the Iraqis because it gets these Iraqi tanks, these armored vehicles, some of their artillery, out of their hardened, fortified positions. It gets them into the open where some of the U.S. air assets, especially the A-10 Thunderbolt tank killers, the Apache and the Cobra helicopters, they can go after these artillery pieces and certainly the tanks one by one. Let me ask Jim Blackwell in our Washington Bureau, CNN's military affairs analyst. Do you agree with this assessment that the more of these Iraqi troops that come out of their fortified positions in Kuwait into Saudi Arabia, the more this is going to ease the overall Allied campaign?
Well, it certainly is consistent with the interpretation that we've been seeing as this battle for Khafji has unfolded. That is to say that it might have been a well-planned, well-thought-out attempt by the Iraqis to engage the Allies in an offensive operation, but it was poorly executed. And if that's going to be their pattern, then certainly the Allies would welcome the opportunity to do the same thing to other brigades, given that there are only a limited number of those brigades in the theater of operations. And of course, as long as the Allies enjoy air supremacy, they will be able to do that kind of damage with A-10s and Cobra helicopters and perhaps other aircraft, and won't have to join in with the Iraqis in a ground war.
We also, Jim, heard the Sir Patrick Hine, the British Air Chief Marshal, insist that the Allies were in no hurry to begin the ground war, plenty of patience. The British Prime Minister John Major made the same point a few moments ago. What's your sense now? How much longer is this air campaign going to go on?
I got the sense yesterday from General Schwarzkopf's briefing that he was almost understating even the optimism that he expressed, that this air campaign may be doing even better than they might have expected at this point. And the fact that they're able to devote 25, 26, and 2,700 sorties a day to these missions of interdicting the logistics of the Republican Guards and the other mobile forces would indicate that they're enjoying some success and then they're making progress in it. That is not to say that they'll be at a point where they can launch a ground campaign anytime soon. It simply brings us closer to the decision point. I would not want to hazard a guess as to when that decision point might come, but I think that within the month of February, the Allied bombing campaign will have its intended effects and will reach that decision point.
We also, Jim, heard the British Air Chief Marshal talk about his assessment that all of these Iraqi planes, about 90 of them, that have flown in recent days to Iran, that this is a carefully coordinated move, probably by Saddam Hussein himself. And Sir Patrick Hine suggested that these reports that have now been surfacing of some sort of coup attempt within the Iraqi Air Force are probably not true. Is that what you're hearing as well?
Yes, Wolf. I think there was some significance to the fact that previously the senior officials have been not speculating as to the motivations for the aircraft going to Iran. They've been imputing a number of motives, but they've been not reaching any conclusions as to why they might have gone. Today, Sir Patrick at least ruled out one of those conclusions, and that was that it might have been part of a mass defection. So I think that they're beginning to be able to reach some conclusions, perhaps based on intelligence that we don't have access to, and they might be having a more clear picture of what exactly is going on in the Iraqi Air Force.
James Blackwell, thank you very much for joining us. Here at the Pentagon, we're following a lot of developments, and in fact, in about 2.5 hours at 3:30 Eastern Time, there's going to be another of the daily briefings here with Pete Williams, the Pentagon spokesman, also some generals from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. We should be getting some more information on the missing U.S. soldiers, the male and female soldiers that were reported earlier this morning. We're also expecting to get a more thorough update on exactly what happened at Khafji along the Saudi coast just south of Kuwait. Marianne?
All right, thank you once again. Wolf Blitzer, live from the Pentagon. When we continue in just a moment, we'll take a look at one journalist's trip back into Baghdad. Stay with us.
To introduce Isuzu's new Rodeo, we've placed it and Toyota's 4Runner in this campground to see which is better for family fun.
Sure, the Rodeo has more horsepower and rear anti-locking brakes, but another key difference is that only the Rodeo seats 6.
So, combined with its price, thousands less than 4Runner, we see that only in a rodeo, no one gets stung.
The new Isuzu